only wanted to have like one social media thing, and it was Facebook, and then I was done.
Ouch. This is way too close. This is way... Ugh.
Pick one scapegoat and don't let up.
Right. Exactly.
That's my rule.
Have you seen the Geico commercial about having a scapegoat?
No, I don't really watch a lot of TV, but go on.
I watch a lot of Hulu, and apparently Hulu is owned by Geico because every other commercial is one of theirs. And they're in a factory, and something goes wrong, and the manager goes, "What's going on?" And they're like, and the two worker people like, point to the coworker off camera and go, "It's totally him." And then there's a goat standing there, and what do you have to say for yourself? And the goat goes, "Meh!" Everybody needs a scapegoat, but for 15 minutes you can get Geico. All right, I have to turn the sound off of all of my Apple. Yeah, I've got...
I only wanted to have like one social media thing, and it was Facebook, and I was done.
There you go.
Okay, phones, iPods, everything's off.
I got it.
Okay.
I took off my audio. Sorry about that. Just started playing randomly.
What are you playing?
Nothing. I was just... I had the YouTube video open, so when we went live on our broadcast, it began rebroadcasting the audio in like a 20-second delay. So.
Okay. Are there show notes at all?
Yeah, they're shared with you already, and I shared them also with Mike.
When did you do this?
Well, it's been shared, but I can reshare it again.
Hang tight. Google Drive.
Wait.
Shared with me.
There was sharing? Oh, I do see it.
I see Remembering Leonard Nimoy.
No. There's a...
It's just called Serenity.
Yes, it's called Serenity.
Oh.
And there you are. I see it. They're everywhere.
Ooh.
So this is just a brief overview, and we can rabbit trail any which direction.
Gotcha.
I will follow your lead.
So this is live now. We can put it up on tell people, hey, come watch us, be silly and fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
All right. So let me go to SciFi Diner website.
Just helps the microphone. That is so gross.
I know. Sorry. I've been a little under the weather, so I'm trying really hard not to be Sally McSnurfles. It's not Sci-Fi Diner Podcast.com.
/live.
Live. So do we know if the Sci-Fi Diner URL is available, and we can just piggyback?
You mean just the Sci-Fi Diner itself?
Yeah.
It's for sale for like $3,000.
Oh, screw that noise.
Ha!
I think someone capitalized on that when Disney has their Sci-Fi Diner.
Gotcha.
Hey, Asia, can you shut the door for us, please?
Thank you.
No.
Just break your whole sound thing.
Whoa, that sounded inappropriate.
Who needed that soundboard anyways? All right.
Escalated quickly.
Yeah, it did. All right. We're good. All right. So, are we ready to go here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey, so I thought maybe what we do is, since we have some new people, we'll obviously give our introductions. Em, I will not forget to introduce you. Yeah.
Do you see the eyebrow?
Yeah, I did see the eyebrow. There have been numerous podcasts, especially when Em first came on, we would just forget to introduce her.
Not we, Scott, the dude on that side of you.
Me, on the right side. Yeah, me right here. So
It's totally his fault.
it is totally his fault. I blame Miles.
Dude.
But then I'll give you a chance, Chrissy, to introduce yourself. But then Mike will give you a chance to introduce yourself, chat about some of the projects you're doing, and then we'll leap into Serenity.
We're really not doing any projects.
I didn't say you're doing the project. You just kind of.
Oh my.
All right. Are we we're still recording? What are you doing, Ab?
Being distracting.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm playing with my. I got my dudes.
Oh. Is that Mike from...
It is Mike.
Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
Oh, and Mike, I found an extra copy of Bronco's Redemption Blu-ray.
Okay.
I don't know. Can we use it as a giveaway if I get you to sign it?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
New for a collection. Agent Coulson pop.
Nice.
Cute. Oh, I
Do
want
I
it.
have to go get my dancing group one. That way we can all play along.
How about you just stand up and dance, and we'll just call it even.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Nice.
We have to do like the Numa dance. That's what I want.
No! It took me 10 years to get that out of my head.
Oh man.
Very
All right.
nice. Are we ready to rock and roll?
Let's go. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Diner Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Herzog.
And good evening, I am Miles P. McLaughlin.
Hi, I'm MC Garcia.
Can you repeat that, Em? You cut out.
I did.
Wish we
Are
did
you
that
sure
again.
you didn't cut me out?
She's freezing on me here.
But I...
In
And-
the store.
Oh, wait,
What?
Oh,
And-
back.
you're back.
Is it getting all funky?
Yeah, but yeah,
It
I don't
is.
know. We're hardwired into, but
Is it the headband?
it is headbands interfering. That's okay. Mike's still frozen.
Oh, no.
I shouldn't be.
Oh, there you
There we
are.
go.
Look,
I'm just staying quiet, and I'm looking at my phone.
yeah, see, it's the
Oh my god, so
phone.
look at mine too.
Just being very still.
There you go. All right, let's try the introduction.
Do over.
Yeah. Mike, you there?
Yes, I am.
It's on this phone.
Okay, he's on his phone. Notice his mouth didn't move. It's pretty impressive.
Ventriloquism.
It is true. Hey, Joseph's with us. Hi, Joseph, in the chat room.
Oh, my hair's a mess.
All right, Mike, you still there?
Yes, I am.
All right, very good. There you go. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Diner Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Herzog,
And good evening, I am Miles P. McLaughlin.
Hi, I'm MC Garcia.
and we welcome you tonight. It's icing out there, but it's warm here in the diner, and we have two special guests with us tonight. And let's introduce Chrissy first. How you doing, Chrissy?
I'm doing okay.
Great. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell people a little bit about you?
Well, I've basically been a science fiction nerd, for lack of a better word, my entire life. I'm actually now in graduate school for social work at the local university in Millersville. I'll be graduating next year, and I've just been doing, I've been gaming, I've been reading, I've been doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I just rewatched Serenity this past weekend, totally nerded out on it again. Love Firefly.
Absolutely, absolutely. AM, by the way, she played Guild Wars 2.
Oh,
Yes,
are you
I
in
was-
Guild Wars?
I played Guild Wars 2. I was actually a guild leader for an entire year.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of still waiting for them to bring back Super Adventure Box because I will totally do that again.
Oh, that
Like
was
me-
such a pain in the neck. Well, you know there's an expansion coming out. So you can
I
go,
heard.
there's like two new paths that you can take, and you can go over 80 now. I think the next level up is 100.
Really, I
And
don't
a-
know. I got
And a new
Very
section of map.
my Bifrost, and then I was like, now what? It's just the shiny staff that I get to run around with. It's so pretty.
And then, well, now you can craft your own legendaries. It's not as hard as it was before. So I've been crafting and running around on a full ascended gear for like the last 3 months. It's been amazing on all of my critters. It's a lot of fun.
maybe.
We should totally hook up and play. There's a whole, I don't know how long it's been since you've played, but there's a whole bunch of new stuff. And then when the expansion comes out in a couple weeks,
But what What server are you on? Because I was on, I think it was Dragon Brand.
I'm on Crystal Desert.
What was?
You should be able to hop
say
over without being charged anything, because that's now that they're on Mega Server.
Oh, okay. They changed that. All right.
It's,
Maybe
it's-
I'll at least hop on and say hi.
this is
You
a whole
can
separate
look
show we
for-
should have.
Right.
Okay. Back to Serenity.
Back to Serenity, and we have with us also Mike Doherty. Welcome.
How you doing?
Great. And Mike, tell people about yourself.
I am the writer and director, producer, and all-around guy for Browncoats Redemption. Yay, thank you. I have the good fortune of raising a lot of money for charity with films, and I'm also currently distributing the amazing movie by Justin Timpane and executive produced by Ed Sanchez, who did the Blair Witch Project called Ninjas vs. Monsters.
Sounds curious.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's a whole series of ninja versus movies, right?
There is. It started with zombies, then went to vampires, and now monsters.
Do we ever see the ninjas?
You do. The ninjas are the key to the story.
Yeah, and the ninja in this movie is pretty cute.
Really?
The ninjas,
Yeah.
The ninjas are total fan service. It's amazing. If you are a fan of anything from Firefly to Lost, you will get tons of references in this. This is it's not your typical ninja movie where everything is serious. These guys are completely snarky and quipping the entire time. So it's like if it's Buffy's ADD little brother. That's the best way I could describe it.
That's awesome. Well,
I say that with love.
You say that with love.
Love.
Yeah, we're gonna have to review that movie on a show coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So I have it. I just haven't watched it yet since Farpoint. So thank you for giving us a copy of it so that we can kind of preview that.
You're absolutely welcome. And if you want, you can have Justin Timpane or Daniel Ross, who's one of the ninjas, to come on with you.
That would be
Daniel.
awesome.
Daniel's
We
a
should
doll. Justin's a doll also.
They're both dolls. You could buy them from Mattel.
Great.
I'm totally telling Daniel.
Yeah. Oh man. So, but you also have this other project that you're also involved in. Tell us about ZCon. What's up with ZCon?
ZCon is indefinitely put on hold. It is a zombie movie about 4 kids going to a comic book convention to get interviews for their podcast and get trapped in the middle of the zombie outbreak where they become the man on the street reporters. And the Sci-Fi Diner actually does make a little bit of a cameo. M makes her, I think, is it your acting debut, M?
That is my film acting debut, yes.
And there's a stand-in for Miles.
Yeah.
I heard.
A little bit taller. But
Just a bit taller. So where that's at right now is that we hit a little bit of a financial snag, and we're trying to figure out the best process to get it back on track. So we've got about 65% in the can, and then trying to go from there.
They've done that already. Kickstarter. You did a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo campaign before, right?
We did a Kickstarter and 2 Indiegogos. We did a Kickstarter for the proof of concept, which you could see on YouTube at youtube.com/bigdamnfilms. And then we did 2 Indiegogo campaigns for the pre-production and production of the film. But to be full, honest, and transparent, we had an issue where somebody came through with a lot of money and then ran away at the last minute with it.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's not nice.
Yeah, that's the best, politest way I can say it.
I will say that when I saw, so we saw the concept of this a year ago when we interviewed Jim Crut down at Farpoint.
Yep.
So a year ago we released that interview, and the trailer we saw then versus the trailer we saw this year was like night and day. We're talking about production quality up at least 10 notches. I mean, you guys did incredible work in that trailer.
Thank you.
Like, I felt like I was watching like a real zombie horror movie, something that wasn't just it's just steps above where it was.
Yeah, that was the point. The proof of concept was really just to get the idea out, because we had a lot of people having a hard time wrapping their brains around what 4 kids running around like a sci-fi convention would be like. I don't know why.
I don't know. That sounds really normal to me.
Yeah, but so that was the proof of concept, and then we just ratcheted it up to 11 for the teaser that's out there. And the teaser is actually made up of 100% footage from the film. So the line that you see that Daniel says is actually the Marvel end bumper, so that's a little bit of a spoiler. And then the zombie clips throughout are actual zombie shots from the film. So what you're seeing in that little teaser that we put out would be what the final product looks like.
Yeah. So where can they go to see that teaser?
Everything is on the Big Damn Films YouTube channel, so you should be able to go there and check it out now.
And how about if they want to land their own copy and check out Ninjas versus Monsters?
To get that, you go to ninjasverse.com. That's ninjasvs.com, and you can pick it up for $15.
Yeah, nice. I love your mad spelling chops.
Thanks, man. It's elementary school education at its best.
Well, very good. Anything else you want to talk about, Mike, before we leap into Serenity tonight?
Oh no, I'm excited to get into Serenity.
Let's get into Serenity, which sounds a lot dirtier than it is. A family show. So let's talk about Serenity. Before we get into it, why don't we just, for people that are listening, we assume that if you're listening to the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, that you have watched Serenity. But just in case you haven't, Miles, could you read the summary that we have here for our folks, just to remind them of what this was about?
Sure, I'll be happy to. In the future, a spaceship called Serenity is harboring a passenger with a deadly secret. 6 rebels on the run, an assassin in pursuit, when the renegade crew of Serenity agree to hide a fugitive on their ship. They find themselves in an awesome action-packed battle between the relentless military might of a totalitarian regime who will destroy anything or anyone to get the girl back, and the bloodthirsty creatures who roam the uncharted areas of space. But the greatest danger of all may be on their ship.
I just want to hear you say totalitarian regime 5 times real fast.
No, let's not.
Because I couldn't do it.
We'll pass.
Oh, we'll pass on that. Well, that's a good summary. It doesn't do it justice, but it's a good summary to kind of introduce it. So this movie, when it came out in the box office, the budget was $39 million. It grossed $38 million. So it lost money, which probably killed its chances for any sequels, but it at least didn't totally lose them money.
It wasn't, yeah, I mean, they almost broke even.
Yeah. Mike.
I will say that was, for anybody that doesn't know, Serenity is the feature-length sequel to the TV show Firefly. It is actually the hour or almost 2 hours of what the entire season 2 would have been if Firefly season would have continued on to a second season. And unfortunately, Universal did not target its proper audience, which is the Firefly fans, properly, and it was a movie that was really undermarketed and underpromoted and really got to that $38 million thanks to the fan support.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, I loved Firefly, and I don't think I even knew when the movie was coming out in theaters, because I didn't watch it until it came out on DVD like months later, and I was like, how did I miss this? Like, I love Firefly, so I do agree that I think the marketing was pretty poor.
This was 2005, if I remember. Movies were not, kind of hit a dry spell, and the last, as M is fond of saying, the last of the Star Wars fan films had been released, so it was kind of competing with that too.
Well, it's also at a time that the internet was still at its infancy. I mean, we didn't have a lot of the stuff that we do now that people can get mass promoting their movies as quickly as possible. So, you know, it was still the age of forums, if you guys remember those from back in the day, and like different mod channels and things like that. And it was a really grassroots campaign by the fans that still continue to this day through events like Can't Stop the Serenity.
So, if I'm understanding you correctly, if this movie, let's say, were released today, do you think that the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all those social media outlets would have brought in more revenue for this film?
I will honestly bet my entire life that if the movie was brought out today in today's market and internet capabilities, it would have done at least 4 times what it did in its box office.
I can believe that.
It's possible there would have been campaigns, hey, we need to support this movie. Go see it a few times.
Yeah.
I saw it 3 times in the theater. I'm also one of those people that I saw Firefly when it first aired on TV. I was really fortunate enough to catch the commercials that Fox was kind of trying to push through Dark Angel. For those people that don't know, like Firefly was a fluke. It wasn't supposed to be a success. It was really what Fox used to get Dark Angel off the air, and then it
Which
just kind of
angered.
which
I
angered
think
a lot of people. And go ahead.
I think one of the reasons why Firefly failed was because so many people were upset by Dark Angel. I remember, like, my brother loved Dark Angel, and I remember him sitting down, turning on the television to watch Dark Angel. Firefly came on, and he, like, went ballistic, and we turned off the television and didn't see Firefly, didn't know what it was until years later. And I have to wonder, like, how many people, like, went to watch Dark Angel, got mad, turned off the television, and walked away and killed it without realizing that they were killing a really amazing show.
Well, I will tell you two other things killed it. One, they aired it out of sequence. So if you've watched the DVDs, you know that Firefly is a sequential TV show. Each story builds on the last. They only aired 10 of the 13 episodes, and then what they started doing was they put it on at 8, then at 8:30. They killed it for 2 weeks due to Major League Baseball, put it back on, pulled it off, and they never, if people were angry that, Dark Angel got treated badly, Firefly got treated far worse because they basically just dumped it in any slot on Friday that they could as filler.
Yeah. I, too, had watched it air when it originally aired. I don't know if I caught every episode, but I remember it airing, and I tuned in specifically to watch Firefly because I was not watching Dark Angel at all. But
I tuned in because it was the closest thing to the Millennium Falcon that we would have on TV in a long time, and that's what got me excited.
Absolutely.
But Serenity is actually a really great movie that it does really well to stand alone if you've never seen Firefly, but it's also one of those movies that if you've seen the TV shows, there's so many in-jokes that just makes so much more sense by watching the show.
And I'm glad that you said that because it is a movie that if you have never watched Firefly, they give enough of a premise when they introduce the show that you have a good feel for what's going on. They don't leave you. It's not just a film for fans, even though ultimately that's what really it was.
They have to try some way let somebody who is not a Firefly watcher know what this universe is about, and they do a pretty good job in the opening scene with that whole classroom scene,
yeah.
And you see the idea these generation ships coming to these planets to terraform them and everything. I thought that was well done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the other thing is that it just from that point on, right when they go into the ship, it's less than 5 minutes. So you have less than 5 minutes of exposition done really, really well into the thing that everybody in the theater was waiting for. And I remember the first time sitting in the theater watching the ship come to life on the big screen, and they did a masterful one take from the captain walking from the back of the ship or front of the ship to the back of the ship all the way down to the cargo bay, all in one long take, or what looks like one long take, and you're just sitting there riveted while these two people, and it's just two people talking and walking, and that's all it is, and you're just like, I'm in love.
It does. It looks seamless, but you find out when you guess you look in the extras and stuff that they did do a split in the middle of it, a little blend that they had to, but it did look like one continuous take in that. Well, very good. We can talk about this movie with a couple different angles. One of the things that we toyed with, maybe kind of looking at this movie, we obviously are going to get into favorite moments and quotes and stuff like that. But this story really does follow the classic archetype of a hero's journey. It's kind of this mythological construct that even like Star Wars followed, Lord of the Rings followed, The Hobbit followed. That the heroes go through a certain progress, or go through certain steps to kind of fit this idea of a mythology, and Serenity is no exception to that. Are you familiar with the hero's journey, Mike?
I am. It's as a writer, it's something I look at. It's when I wrote Browncoat's Redemption, I really studied hard at what they did with Serenity and how closely to the hero's journey they followed. And it was amazing. It was almost I don't want to say a paint by numbers story because it's not at the least, but it was a really, really well done job. That if you pay attention to each character has their own hero's journey, with Mal being the main arc.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How about you? You familiar with the hero's journey concept?
I am not familiar with the hero's journey concept, but as I read through the notes that you so kindly provided, um, I have a passion for reading reading stories and watching movies and television shows where it's not just one person's journey, it's a collective journey, and it's something that goes full arc from the beginning to the very, very end. It's not just, hero of the week kind of thing. And when I found Firefly, I had actually seen parts of Serenity and didn't know what was going on. Went back, found the TV show, just binge watched it and embraced every minute of it. And that was one of the key things that I do love about the show, is the fact that they did take that story for each person and have it intertwine and then separate and come back. And it's that's my 2 cents.
So for those that don't know, the hero's journey is something, it's been around for a while, but Joseph Campbell kind of created the standard for it, which is the standard path of a adventure of a hero in a formula representing a rite of passage. So they have like the birth, the beginning, a call to action or adventure, the helpers, the crossing of the threshold, the tests, the climax, the big fight, the return, and then the elixir, which is the object known to be what they're trying to acquire, and then their return home. And if you follow that arc, you have all of that throughout the course of Serenity. Like Mal's constantly tested as what his character. And if you've seen the show, it's not an unfamiliar turn for him. But for those people watching Serenity for the first time, it's not a path that the average hero would take.
No, certainly not. And I think the call doesn't come for him right away into the movie. I mean, you open up, you have the bank robbery scene, you have him leaving that man behind, you have him questioning, do I leave River behind? So you were talking about this too a little bit.
Well, and I think one of the reasons why he doesn't leave her behind is because sorry, I have something in my throat. Is because he's feeling guilty about leaving the man behind for the Reavers and then consequently after that shooting him. Now that was an act of mercy, but Zoe questions him and says, he's like, well, we couldn't take another person and survive. And she's like, well, we could have dumped the cargo, which is the payload. And so at that point, he realized that at that point he was valuing money over the life of another human being, which he wouldn't have done back when he was a sergeant or captain, depending on whether you go with the movie or the show, in the brown coat army. So that's, I think, what is one of the catalysts for him with sticking with River.
Well, it's if you watch the movie, it's masterfully done. That if you've never seen the movie, his test is choosing to keep them or leave them. But he actually chose to take that test all the way back in the TV show when they first pick him up. So it's a little bit a callback to and it's funny that the pilot episode is called Serenity and the movie is called Serenity, and they both have a little bit of the same arc about choosing to keep River and Simon on the ship. But in the movie, it's choosing to actually go and fulfill the things that's bothering River rather than just keeping her. And I gotta really applaud Whedon for doing that, for riding that line between retelling the same story versus expanding that same story out into a new avenue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, other things you see that play into the hero's journey here, as you see it, anyone here can speak.
I mean, there's this kind of an epiphany for River. I mean, she's finding out more who she is and what was done to her.
Yeah.
And what she can do.
Yeah, boy, do we see what she can do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, even the when you have the accepting the call, the entering the unknown, Reaver space and Miranda, that's all kind of unknown territory. Not for us as an audience, even though it's hinted at. In the TV show, but for us in the movie, this is a new territory, and certainly is new territory for the Serenity crew, or the Firefly crew.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's only one. They mentioned the Reavers throughout the entire series, and there's only one episode where they dealt with it. And you didn't really see a Reaver in that episode. You saw somebody that was impacted by them. But
Yeah.
Serenity was your first chance to get to see the big scary monsters.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one of the things that we were debating here before we went live is, does the fact that we see the big scary monsters make them less scary for us? Because one of the things that Firefly thrived on is hear the man in the dark, and you don't ever really see them, but now suddenly you see them. Do we lose doing that a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think you have to take it into consideration that this was probably the last time Whedon ever thought he could tell the characters this story with these characters, so he'd have no other opportunity to show them. So if you look at it from that point, no, it was the perfect time to see them. It's kind of like if you watch Jaws, you don't see Jaws until 2/3 of the way through the movie, and it's always the shark is always hinted at. But I think, unfortunately, having seen them now, if they ever do anything in the future, you kind of take the power away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Other thoughts on the any other thoughts on the hero's journey?
I think the Kaylee's hero's journey is probably the most adorable one for me, which is the end of the movie when she kind of realizes that Simon admits that he likes her, and she's like sex, and he's like, yeah,
I'm gonna live.
She's like, I'm gonna live, and turns into a little bit of a badass. Like, because up until that point, she's not the damsel in distress, she's not the meek and timid, but she's always kind of hiding in the background, and now she's been tested and has an opportunity to live. And then moments after that, you have Rivers, which is when she's seen everything around her that's been protecting her taken away, and she turns full badass. And I don't want to ruin it. I mean, the movie came out in 2005, so it shouldn't be spoilers for anybody almost 10 years later. But, when she's...
No spoiler alert here. We can ruin it.
Spoiler alert, she's actually wielding the axe from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Is that true?
It looks pretty close to it.
How great would that be?
That's amazing.
It might be true.
Well, there's a fan service that said River is one of the Chosen, like Buffy. She's a Slayer.
Oh, well, she is a Slayer. If you see that scene in Serenity,
yeah,
a Slayer. So
vampires, Reavers.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
We'll stretch it.
One of the things that was interesting was, when you get to Miranda and you find out the truth about what happened there, there are some eerie parallels to stuff that we've done in society.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What's up?
You gotta talk to him. He's beside himself.
Okay.
Sorry.
You guys carry on.
Podcasting world.
Yeah, if I did. So my son just needs me for a second.
Buddy.
Yeah, so I'll be back.
You guys can have a little air in here.
What?
I'm toasty. I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's like the office in here.
So carry on. Talk about environmental controls.
So this is something that I actually remembered from my psych class in my undergrad, is that we talked about how in like the 50s and 60s there had been some talk about like actually releasing some drugs into the environment, into the population, and actually it came out later that the CIA had released some LSD experiments to various people unwittingly and followed them just to see kind of like what it was doing. And other parallels comes with like I'm going to say this wrong so everyone can like crucify me later. I think it's like the Tuskegee experiments with syphilis, how they exposed some African Americans to it, and then they denied and discouraged them from seeking treatment just to study the course of the disease back in the 1930s. So we see like some parallels where you have the government introducing drugs or denying treatment as sort of like this massive experiment, whether or not they claim that they mean well, but at the same time, there's still that real human toll. I mean, in here it's only hundreds of people, but in Serenity, it's I think they said like 30 million people on a single colony. So you have kind of this eerie parallel where you think, oh, well, that's science fiction, but then you go back in history and you see how many times governments have kind of done that, and it's a little bit scary in a way.
Yeah, I mean, social engineering is a big thing throughout history. I mean, if you just do some research, you kind of get creeped out on what human beings are capable of doing to each other, and I think that was a big call to action of what the Miranda story was about. I'm curious about how many people actually started looking into that stuff because of the movie.
I don't know. I kind of knew about it before the movie, so when I was watching, I was like, oh, it's kind of like that thing. So like I saw lots of parallels to it from my own like experience, and just thinking of like even today how we use like certain environmental things to control like how we set up our cities, how like Scott was talking about how they play music in his school during like the changing of classes to decrease fighting. I think my mom used to talk like them painting like certain hospital walls like pink or something to help like make people calm and sleepy. So it's and even like putting up cubicles in a workspace was to try to increase productivity and decrease people talking to one another. So we still using environment to control people's behavior for good or for ill. And the question is, when does it start crossing over?
Well, I think one of the biggest crossovers that you have is the French Revolution. Is that you have a period in time where people were just shifted and molded to the way that the government at the time thought it was until the people kind of rose up and changed. But that's a separate historical topic altogether. We should get back on the topic of Serenity.
It'd be interesting if Whedon took some inspiration from that stuff to the whole Miranda thing.
I wouldn't doubt it. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know he one of the big things that inspired Firefly was reading about the Civil War.
Which you see lots of remnants of when you see like the Independence versus the Alliance. I mean, I hear this stuff and I'm like, it's totally a throwback to the Civil War.
Even some of the names, like Jubal Earl in Firefly, the TV show, is an actual name, and I think Malcolm Reynolds is a name as well. So there's names that were pulled directly from history to be used in Firefly, and possibly even Serenity. I haven't even done the research on that one.
There was a post in the wiki about the parallels of Serenity and Firefly itself being kind of as the old adage is, if you don't learn from history, history will repeat itself, and that the TV show kind of shows that after the globalization of English and Chinese cultures, and that they're the two that survive and take up most of the planet, that that whole American history expansion westward, that all of that, it just kind of repeats itself over again. All the mistakes that we made, all the way that we handled things, the way that life, when you dump people in the middle of nowhere, what's going to happen, and it just repeats itself, but on a whole new part of the universe.
Well, what was interesting to me is just how Whedon looked at, if you go back and looked at the Rim worlds, the worlds that were still in the process of either being terraformed or had been recently terraformed, they were pretty much straight out of the Old West, and it's hundreds of years in the future, and even with all the technology, I think people still revert back to the basics of needs.
Mm.
And civilization hasn't caught up to them yet. They're still living pioneer style.
Exactly, and still bartering and trading, and it's kind of almost martial law like.
And I wonder how much the Alliance holds back technology from them in order to ensure compliance, because it talks about meddling, and I know that with our own like welfare system, that we talk about this because this is my social work major coming out. We talk about how we will use like assistance as a way of social control. So I do wonder like how much of that goes on in that universe, and unfortunately we wouldn't have been able to like delve into it because of having to cut a lot of things from like say Serenity instead of a season 2. So kind of always wonder like how much of that would he have gone into had he given the chance.
Well, I think it's interesting because you have stories like the Hunger Games that are really focusing on stuff like that in today's story. Because you could do a direct comparison to the Firefly universe to the Hunger Games universe, where Capital City is the alliance, and each of the districts, as the further out in the districts you go, they become more and more kind of rugged, with District 12 being the most kind of disparaged, like a rim-world planet. And how the government itself is more worried about taking care of its own needs more than the people in the furthest reaching until those people start impacting their daily needs. Like when the people on the outside stop supplying the thing that the people on the inside need, that's the only time the people on the inside will start looking out. Wow, we got deep.
Yeah, we did get deep. Let's maybe we should lighten it up a little bit.
All right, let's go with favorite moments, because I know that's something Scott mentioned.
Okay, the first one is actually it is and don't hate me for this, everyone. My favorite death scene of any movie or book is actually Wash's, and the reason is because it's so like emotionally charged, because it's after they go through all these ships, everyone's breathing a sigh of relief, and it's like real life in a way. Like you're not expecting it, and that's why I liked it so much. Was it just all of a sudden hits you like a train, and normally when you're watching a movie, you can kind of semi-expect it during a fight scene, but after the fight scene, you're like, okay, everyone's all right. Whew. No one died. We're all good. And then, wham, right there. And it really like just grabbed me so emotionally. I'm like, if you're gonna kill off a character, you had better make me cry. Like that is my rule. Otherwise, I don't understand why you're doing it. So that's why it's my favorite death scene, is because it got that sort of reaction. I didn't actually cry, but it like really grabbed me emotionally, and that's why I love it so much.
I will say I'm a huge horror fan, and I'm a huge sci-fi thriller fan, and death scenes normally don't grab me, but that one grabbed me the most because we had already seen Book die, and that was a very kind of honorable death for the character, and then Wash was just out of nowhere. And I will be honest, the first time I saw it in the theater, I had an audible what the fuck. Like, I'm normally not the person that yells at the screen, but like the minute that happened, I was like, what the fuck? And then I had to stop and look around, and everybody else in the theater was sharing that same moment. And every time you see it since then, you can whether they've seen it for the first time, or they're seeing it for the first time, or they've seen it 100 times before, the room will just collectively gasp. Like all the air will get sucked out of the room in that one scene.
Yeah.
I jumped.
It was like a punch in the gut for me.
Yeah. I definitely jumped. Like I started.
I think following along the lines of deaths, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Mal comes along Mr. Universe after the operative has killed him, and he's talking through his synthetic robot girlfriend, and the favorite line is, "He killed me with a sword, Mal, a sword." It's just like,
how weird is that?
Yeah, it's just that's what you think when you're dying.
Right.
And it makes me it shouldn't make you laugh, but it makes me laugh.
They did this a few times in the movie, but what I liked was when they would get all serious. They'd have a knocked out, dragged out argument, and it's between Mal and Jane, and Mal asks Jane, do you want to take over the ship? And Jane says yes. He goes, well,
you can't.
You can't. It's he doesn't have it's not the best comeback in the world, and that's what makes it so awesome. Is it's just funny. It's just he doesn't have a good comeback. He just says, you can't take over.
Well, I think he wasn't expecting Jane to be like, yeah, I'll do it, but so he's kind of like, well, no.
Yeah.
Well, and I like it because it's very subversive of that classic, like, it's a very classic line in a lot of movies where they're like, you want to run things, you want to lead this, and usually that person backs down. So when Jane actually says yes, that's when the whole audience like goes, oh, well, now what? And that's the exact feeling that you feel with Malcolm going, what do I say now? Because I said the line that makes you back down, and you didn't. So, well, you can't, and I love that.
And they did that again. This was River sort of, well, she escapes from Jane. And then she's on the bridge, and Mal's trying to talk her down. I don't remember the exact dialogue. Chrissy, I think you remember it, but basically he tries to reason with her, and then she just points the gun and cocks the trigger back, and he goes, "Oh, we can keep talking."
He's saying that he is betting on the fact that she's a human whole and not just some weapon, and if it's a weapon and she's just a weapon, she might as well kill him now, and that's when she cocks the weapon, and he's like, or we could just which is another scene when Jane is almost getting pulled back by the Reavers. He's like, if you shoot me, if they take me, and then like Malcolm's about to shoot off, I guess like the whatever is holding onto Jane, and he's like, well, I didn't mean now.
I think one of my other favorite lines is when you see Inara and she's separated from the group and she goes to pray, and there's Mal with a thing over his head. He's like, "Dear Buddha, please bring me a pony and a plastic rocket." And you're just like, what? Okay.
It's so ridiculous. It's brilliant.
It is.
Love it.
Because it's what all of us would do. We would say the most inappropriate thing at the most inappropriate time.
But that's something that's involved in the movie, even in the TV show, that is, I can't identify a specific moment that's my favorite or least favorite. It's those intertwining moments of humanity where you're going to bicker, or you're going to snark, or you're going to make those little comments that you make to your buddies, and it's not just, this is the movie, here is the story, I'm delivering the lines. It's the actual conversations, it's actual like interaction, and the cast being as tight as they were, as quickly as they got really tight really quickly. It's the whole production of creating that world and then creating those delicious little funny goofy moments where, you know, Mal and Inara are escaping and they're bickering about something, or, you know, there's always a little something going on that adds to the humanity of the story and makes you love it even more, that brings you to the people. They're not just critters on a page or critters on a TV screen, that you care about them. And I think the entire universe I love for making me care this much about fictional, because in my brain I want to believe that there's another universe out there where this is happening, because it would be sad if it didn't.
Well, I think you kind of come back to the thing that makes Firefly and Serenity as amazing as it is that it's just like Buffy. Whedon cast the right people for the right roles, and not only the right people in the right roles, but that chemistry of people just turned into the right potion of awesome, to the point that they're all still friends today. And the lines that if you read them on the page, they seem kind of hokey. But then when they're delivered by people who care about each other and they're delivered in that friendly banter sort of way that you mentioned, that's completely natural only when you feel comfortable with that other person. You feel like you're watching the lives of your friends, not characters on a screen.
Well, I was just going to say, that was one of the things that made Firefly and Serenity so appealing, is you felt like these are people that you could go hang out with at a bar or run into at a restaurant, or, you know, hang out with wherever, that they're just regular people trying to make their way in the verse. And you just feel a connection, because there's nothing really super about them except that they're kind of committed to each other, and they seem like just real down to earth people with their flaws, their expressions, their frustrations, and their weaknesses.
You can hang out with them in a bar, but you have to make sure you're not there on a specific day.
Yeah.
Unless you're wearing a brown coat.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to be wearing the brown coat on the U day.
Yeah.
I would totally do it anyways.
Yeah.
If I was in that company, I knew I'd have somebody would have my back. But
River would have my back. Come on,
Yeah.
no one's gonna mess with her.
Oh yeah.
I do repeatedly love how she's managed to kick Jane's ass a couple of times through in the TV show and in the movie.
And what's with this? He tries to turn her in again. Seriously?
And then
Didn't he learn the first time?
in the TV, I think it's in the TV show where Wash has the line. Let's go back to the story, the part where Jane gets his
ass kicked by a girl.
That's actually in the movie. I think one of the reasons why we see Jane do that in the movie is because, once again, it's Whedon kind of retelling the story in a slightly different way. So for audiences that never have seen it, that's like a part of Jane's character that you get to see, and it's very brief. But like if you look at the rest of the movie, Jane, you don't see as much of Jane as like you see in the show. Like we never get to meet Vera. I mean,
Unfortunately.
Which is I love Vera.
I love Vera.
Favorite gun. So, so I think that some of that is just rehashing a little bit so that you get more of Jane's character, that he's the kind of character that would sell her out for whatever reason.
So the line is, start with the part where Jane gets knocked out by a 90-pound girl, because I don't think that's ever getting old.
There you go.
It never does. I could watch that scene all day.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, Jane is the type of character that the only reason he's with those crew is because he's decided that they're family, and they're family up until a certain point. And he's always been a character who's the most self-serving of the group, and that didn't change at all through Serenity, which was really nice to see.
It doesn't change, but they're family to a point, but that point, when he arrives at it, gets pushed back at him. And he has to kind of grapple with that and saying, well, I have to redefine what point it is that I'm going to stick with these guys.
Yeah.
So it's an area of growth for Jane, and it's one that you certainly see developed over the series, but then even in the movie you see developed in the limited time it has.
Well, in the TV show, it's about money, and in the movie, it's about survival. And I think if you look at it from that point of view, in the movie, Jane is doing it to protect the people that he cares about. Which is kind of a noble in a weird sort of way, but in the TV show, he's doing it solely for I just want a good paycheck, and I don't get these characters out of my hair.
Yeah.
Which is still too early for him to have cared about them at all.
Yeah. In the TV show, I mean, the ship's always running and broke, so.
And that continued in the movie very, very well. Even though the ship looked really, really nice and really pristine, and the way a big movie would. And I don't know how many people are nerds like me, but I noticed right away that the ship was different in the movie than the TV show. In the TV show, it was browns and dust and dirt, and in the movie, it was a lot of blues.
Decorated.
And grays. Well, they had to completely rebuild it, and B, they had to find the guy that had the what the heck's blueprints for the ship, because they had gotten lost in the the Fox archive, because it wasn't a show that Fox cared about a whole lot.
Well, apparently, according to this trivia that I believe was provided by...
I think I put it in.
Oh, Scott
IMDb.
So. All right, well, you can share it if you want.
Well, no, Nathan Fillion apparently took pictures of all the blueprints, and they used them to kind of develop the schematic for the ship.
Yeah. So I mean, if you look at certain things, I have a friend that actually got to tour the set of Serenity, and he did like side-by-side comparisons of the one from the TV show and the one from the movie, and the differences outside of color are subtle, but they're not enough that you would notice, and you could tell it's really kind of going, we don't have this portion of the blueprint, so we're just going to put this here, kind of a thing.
Right.
Well, it's been X amount of years from one to the other, so things can change. You have to patch things differently. I do love the very end, the very last few seconds of the movie when the ship is flying off and a piece of the ship comes flying at you, and it just kind of flies right at the camera, and you hear Mel go, "What was that?" And
yeah,
end credits. That was it. Because the ship was always falling apart.
And it was the big callback to the opening scene of the ship. When they're landing. I think they're landing in something, and the panel falls off the ship.
Right, it is. And he's like, oh God, we're gonna die. Great line. By the way, before we move on, Chrissy does need to go tonight, so she's going to be stepping out of the podcast. But thank you so much for joining us tonight and chatting about Serenity.
Thank you, Chrissy. Oh, and Chrissy, by the way, in Guild Wars 2, there is an ascended rifle called Vera that you can craft.
I must now get it. You know what? Screw doing my graduate homework. I will simply have to get Vera. They're all to do it.
Go get your dailies, woman.
Look me up.
Yeah.
Scott can.
We'll have to have you on again.
You can share my character name and count name is the same as my email that I gave you, so you can just hand that off.
Oh, perfect. I'll find you.
All right, darlings, I'm gonna get going and hopefully not kill myself on the ice.
Absolutely.
Be careful.
Be careful.
You are not a leaf on the wind.
Yeah, you are not a leaf in the wind, he said.
I better not be, because then I will die with like a branch.
I'm a leaf in the wind.
My windshield.
Yeah, let's hope that. Thank you so much.
Good night, Chris.
Bye, Chrissy.
Bye, Chrissy.
By the way, Joseph in the chat room just said that Castle, of course, makes tons of Firefly references with Nathan.
All over the place. There's pieces of the set that he took and stuff that he's gotten from Quantum Mechanics and put it on the show.
So, and if you watch the Halloween episode, he actually, from the very first season, he dresses up as Mal, and there is the engine part that they're trying to get from the very pilot episode. Or not the pilot episode. It's I think it's Objects in Space when he's shot and kind of trying to put the part back in. Mm-hmm. That part is sitting on the shelf at his knee level, and I think the best line that his daughter has, and it was like, didn't you wear that like 5 years ago?
Yeah. Go ahead.
The callback to the episode where there's a murder at a con, and it happens on this experience that is based on a TV show that only had like 10 episodes, and Beckett is a huge fan, and Castle's giving her grief, like, dude, I mean, they only had 10 episodes. Who'd watch that? Yeah. And just littered all over that show. Every once in a while, there's just a lovely little callback here and there, and it's nice. It's really nice to see that.
And the rare occasion that they've had a Firefly cast member on the show, it's wonderful, because I think when they had Adam Baldwin, the roles were reversed, and Adam Baldwin was the captain, I think, or he was the one in charge. Yeah. And
then the actress who plays Zoe,
Gina Torres.
Gina Torres was fantastic. It was the reality show episode.
Yes.
That was good.
So.
And Nathan Fillion was on Big Bang Theory recently.
Oh yes.
Yes, he was on that last episode.
Oh, I missed it. Was it good?
It was cute. It was really cute. I'm not going to spoiler it, but he was on, and he still looks a little fluffy, but he looked good.
He looks less fluffy than normal.
He's looking a little less fluffy. There's something about the way that they dress him and light him on Castle that makes me worry, like he might have kidney problems or a Cheeto problem, one or the other.
It's the latter.
It's the
Cheetos.
Well, I think the thing that I as we sit here and talk Serenity, and I mean Serenity came out, we're looking at 10 years ago now.
Mm.
How has this movie, and really this, as we're discussing this movie, it's also a wrap up of the discussion of all the Serenity episodes, the Firefly episodes we've talked about. How has this continued to impact the science fiction community, the TV community, the movie community? I mean, how has this continued? What has been the long-lasting impact of Serenity?
Well, I mean, you could, if you want to just continue with like Big Bang Theory, there's episodes where they just drop Firefly quotes or references. I mean, there's the episode where they did the flashback of the first time that Leonard meets Sheldon, and they go over the roommate agreement. And the roommate agreement is that they will, every Friday at 8 o'clock, be in front of the TV for Firefly, because, of course, that's going to be on TV for, like, ever. And there's tons of stuff like that. There's, like we pointed out, Castle is a show predicated around Nathan Fillion. And was kind of written and tailored for him, and he's made a point to make sure that Firefly is remembered throughout that TV show. You have the comics that come out from Dark Horse Comics that kind of tell the story of in between Firefly and Serenity, what happened there, and then what happened afterwards, and a little bit about after Serenity. And then there's the one that tells books backstory, and every time these books come out, they sell out. So I think the impact on culture, the geek culture, is huge. I mean, Nathan Fillion went from playing Caleb in Buffy the Vampire Slayer to, the geek god, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
Just because of Firefly.
we also have the video game that's coming out where all the cast, I believe, comes in and makes appearances, right?
Yeah, there's the
Firefly
MMO.
Online. I believe it's out now.
You can get into the verse, but the actual gameplay is starting soon. Is definitely starting soon. And like I mentioned before, so in Guild Wars you can get a gun named Vera. In World of Warcraft you can buy Mutter's milk for your critters. It was in Battlestar Galactica. The ship flew by. I loved that. I remember I just finished binge watching BSG, and I remember I kept a point of like watching it fly by, and that was kind of fun. Even on Stargate they made a reference, and I'm looking this up really quickly. I wish I was that verbose that I could pull that stuff out of my brain, but they made they made a short-lived, they made a reference about a short-lived TV show that the DVD sales went through the roof. It's sweet. Even Community had a throwback to them, and Castle is the premier like showcase for throwbacks, which is nice.
Well, I mean, even the Ninjas Verse series, there's nods to Firefly throughout that. There's nods to Firefly in tons of movies that you could see that are out now that are kind of geek culture based, and it's, I think it's really the underdog that could. I mean, there's tons of shows, and the direct correlation that I've heard most people use is when Star Trek first came out, it was a one episode thing, or one season thing, and then kind of came back thanks to the fans.
Apparently on Futurama, in the episode All the President's Heads, the crew of Futurama visits the Head Museum, where all the clone heads of all the famous presidents are, and there are two heads labeled President Zoe Washburn and President Inara Serra.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to have to look that one up. That's got to be cute. That's just got to be cute. But,
yes.
I mean, there's so many people have done and will do exactly what we're doing right now, which is just finding all those little nuggets that we love about it. And I feel like I'm sitting here, I'm excited to do this, to sit and talk to you guys about it, but I'm so afraid that everything we've said has already been said, but then I just want to keep talking about it, and that says something about a world that's been created.
It does, and it says something that you have fans every year that have Can't Stop the Serenity, which is a charity event that happens worldwide, where one day out of the year you can go to the movie theater and watch it on the big screen, and all the proceeds go to charity. Mm-hmm. And that's happened at a long time now. I almost want to say 7 years, not 8 years now. It's been a while. And that's raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for Equality Now in different charities throughout the world, and that's fans getting together at a movie theater, fans getting together at their home. I know for a fact, and I still do it today, that people buy copies of Firefly and they buy an extra copy so they could lend it to their friends, and it's become the cult classic that it is, and it's unfortunate that we don't have more. But on the other hand, I'm kind of glad that we don't, because it might devalue the very thing that you have. Like it's the worry that I had about the Star Wars episodes 1 through 3 when they came out. It was like it kind of tainted my view of A New Hope and everything else. And it's that worry for the new Star Wars movies coming out. Will it devalue it more? So I'm kind of wondering that is Firefly and Serenity in that nice little pocket of time that should just be kept as a memory.
This is kind of a catch-22, because on one hand you want more. I mean, it's the reason why after 3 years of Star Trek they started pulling out the movies. They came up with Next Gen and then Voyager and Deep Space Nine and all of these, and you have and we want more. We want more story, but the risk we run with it is it's not gonna meet the expectations, realistic or unrealistic, that we sometimes have of the universe that we've grown to love. And in one way, having the limited universe we have has blown it into kind of mythic proportions, because we only have this limited amount.
So
yeah, I completely agree.
I I have no problem with the continuation of the universe and creating more, like Michael did with Browncoat's Redemption, which is right here. Can you see it?
Aww.
I know. More information on the back. Creating that universe is important. So like with Star Trek, that universe was important to me because I wanted to know more. And the fact that they took it to the Delta Quadrant, and the fact that they put it on a ship that didn't go anywhere, that was connected to a whole nother quadrant, that I like that. With Star Wars, they kept their universe and they continued in their universe. They took characters and stretched them in a place that they really should not have gone. Hashtag midichlorians. And that was too much, and that devalued Star Wars for me. So my worry is that people are going to want to create more Firefly with the original characters and stretch them too thin instead of creating other parts of that universe like Mike did, which I love because it gives me another snippet of the world of the West, the space cowboy that I liked so much. And it doesn't have to have Mal. It doesn't have to have Zoe. It'd be neat if we heard about them and saw that they're still existing. I love the question mark of what happened to them and what's happened to River. Stargate universe. I mean, they took their universe and stretched it out huge and had new characters, had people come back. As long as the universe lives, I'm okay. But these people, I get really frustrated when I meet people who are all like, well, Firefly needs to get all those actors together and they all have to be in the basement of my house where I've built the entire set and redo it all. Like, no, we've been given that gift. And you can't give us the gift again, but we can remember it and keep building on to it. And you just can't relive that moment anymore. Accept that and give me more of the universe. And that's all I really want.
Preach it, sister.
Well, that was actually my point with Browncoat's Redemption was that, I saw the crew of Redemption as kind of like the same way that Star Trek The Next Generation did. It's the same universe, same kind of technology and stuff that you love, but just fast forwarded a little bit with a different cast and crew. And my hope with that was that it would inspire more people to create more Firefly fan films to kind of, let the baby Groots of the world have their little nourishment to make them turn into big Groots. Because if you look at the Star Wars universe, that's what happened. It's like when the 3 films were done, they had some continued universe done by Timothy Zahn, and then from there they just went to the fans and embraced by Lucas. So I just threw a pillow at my cat who's decided that it's time to get attention that you can hear. So I'm going to go torture a cat for a second, and I will be right back.
All right. Very cool. What's that?
Looks like it's a dinosaur.
Oh yes.
It's Wash's dinosaurs. Look.
This land.
Hold on. I'll find the script. I'll redo it.
Oh, there you go.
Wash
Yeah, you're
dinosaurs. Sorry.
No, I agree. I think that I agree with keeping the universe alive. Bringing in new characters to play in that universe, advance it 10, 20 years in the future, what has happened. I'm okay with that. I mean, by the time they produce it again, by the time they put it into production again, it's going to be a good, 20 years since Firefly originally aired, and let's put, terrible title, but let's put out Firefly: The Next Generation. Let's put another spin on it, put another crew together, and maybe a different type of ship in the same universe, with the Lion, that sort of thing going on.
Well, you have 2 factors that go into that, though, Scott. You have one that this is Joss Whedon's baby. You have to get the man's permission to be able to play in that world a little bit, and the other side of the coin is that it's not much has been done to expand the world outside of the main characters. So, unlike Timothy Zahn books, which he did a really masterful job of building the world beyond the movies that we saw, we're kind of stuck in that little microcosm of what we've got of Firefly. And I worry that Whedon hasn't spent enough time building the world outside of, like, there's the RPGs and there's the little bit of the graphic novels, but even the one thing that Patton Oswalt did, which was three guys that nobody knew about talking about how they knew Wash, didn't go over so well because people just want the crew.
That drives me nuts, and
I agree with you.
It just drives me nuts. Here we go. So here, little Serenity Playhouse. Yes, yes. This is a fertile land, and we will thrive. We will rule over this land and call it this land. I think we should call it your grave. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. Ha ha ha! Mine is an evil laugh. Now die! Oh God, dear God in heaven, no. And scene.
And that's going on Instagram.
Yeah, there you go. You definitely need that. Well, is there anything else you need to say about the movie? I think we've done a good job of paying homage to the movie and talking about its impact.
As I go through the trivia stuff, there's little things that I noticed, things that struck a chord with me when I saw it, but I didn't understand what it was. Like the funeral scene where they're burying everyone. So on their gravestones, everyone's putting a stone on their gravestones, and to me it kept resonating, like that was important to me, and it dawned on me that is I think it's in the Jewish faith that is a something that mourners do as a sign of respect. They leave a stone on their grave. So I love that. And then the other thing that was kind of not bugging me, but kind of sat with me for a bit, and then I looked it up, where Mr. Universe wants his 30 silver. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Now I gotta find it.
It's a reference to Judas.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all these little beautiful things that were just great.
Body count 74.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tons of alliterations. It's tons of stuff in there, peppered if you're paying attention. And then there's just some really, as Chrissy pointed out, some really great nods to the original show if you've paid attention to it.
Absolutely.
That's done so well that it's not a rehash. So how many people do you have in the chat room?
I think there's like the most we had like 5 or 6. It was kind of an unplanned chat room, so we didn't really push it. But there's 2 right now, but we had like 5 or 6 earlier on. So.
Oh, who's in there?
Joseph Fuller.
Hello, Joe.
He's been stalking the Babylon Project podcast and the Dune Saga podcast too. So.
Well,
Nice.
Mr. Fuller, this is your chance. Ask a question.
Nice. Some of the stuff he's been asking. But, yeah. Ask a question. We will answer. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think we've done a good job though. Really.
We just share maybe just a couple quotes.
Yeah. Do you want to share a quote? Give me a quote or two.
This is from Jane. Ain't logical. Cutting on his own face, raping and murdering. Well, I mean, hell, I'd kill a man in a fair fight, or I think he's going to start a fair fight, or if he bothers me, or if there's a woman, or if I'm getting paid. Mostly only when I'm getting paid. But these Reavers, last 10 years they show up like the boogeyman from the stories, eating people alive. Where's that get fun?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good quote. Definitely.
I like it when the operative stops and says, "Do you know what your sin is, Mal?" And Mal's response is, hell, I'm a fan of all 7, but right now I'm going to have to go with wrath.
That's such a Mal response.
It's geniusly communicated that like he knew what he was doing. He's an incredibly smart man.
And that fight scene that them two had, I mean, they just beat the living crap out of each other.
Well, there's when you see Nathan Fillion smack his face against the plexiglass when he hits the ground, that's him actually hitting his face against the ground, and they actually, they say it in panels and it's in the behind the scenes, they had to stop after that take because he hit his face so bad it's swollen up.
Oh,
I believe it.
Yeah, I would believe it. I think one of my favorite quotes, and it was actually an intro to the Sci-Fi Diner for a while, was the I thought Kaylee checked the entry couplings. I have a very clear recollection of it. well, if she doesn't get us some extra flow from the engine room to offset the burn through, the landing's going to get pretty interesting. Define interesting. Oh, God, we're all going to die?
Yeah. Well, I think the most touching one for me was a callback to the TV show. It's Mal and Book when Book's die, or before Book dies. And Mal's like, it took, I look to be bored by many of your sermons before you slip. Just don't move. And then Book says, you can't order me around, boy. I'm not one of your crew. And then Mal says, yes, you are, which is a direct nod to the episode where they finally accept Simon and River, and Mal says something to the effect of, like, you're part of my crew. Why are we still talking about this? And it's just Mal accepting people, but accepting them in his own way.
Book's character, who's really at times questions why he's with them. You know, and in this series.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and the ever famous line, she's starting to damage my calm.
Oh,
Just get us to the ground. Well, that'll happen pretty definitely.
yeah.
Oh, here's the line. I won't get it. You shoot me if they take me. Well, don't shoot me first. Good old Jane Todd.
This is a line that I saw Jewel State use in something else, is that every heist he's got to start yelling my name.
That's great. Every heist he's got to start yelling my name. Mal! Good old Mal.
Yeah.
It's just in the leg. It'll bleed plenty. Oh, when they open the vault. It's just, and it's the visual of the vault opens, and there's Mal and Zoe and Jane, and Jane's just standing there leaning up against the wall, and we're coming down in the vault, and the guard says, you have to give me your authorization password, and Jane, with, like, his face just stays completely stoic. He just, and okay. I don't even think he moved, but just there was so much communicated with so little movement. It was wonderful.
Well, then you have, when Simon and River are finally leaving the ship, and Kaylee's like, don't pay anybody in advance, and don't ride in anything with a Captain 38 engine that fall right out of the sky. And it's such a motherly thing of just like, it's like a little Jewish mom, and it was just so cute.
So you could just hear it in her voice. You can just hear it. They'll just fall right out of the sky. She's choking back like a little bit of tears because there is the line about it's been a year now. There ain't been nothing twixt my nethers that wasn't run on batteries. I can't know that. I could stand here
a little bit more. I can't hear that.
I like the conversation between Inara and the operative, where the operative's saying to Mao, "You cannot make me angry." And Inara says, "Please spend an hour with them." Kind of a throwback to their relationship, which has been very tumultuous throughout the series.
Speaking of, I heard that originally the operative was not going to kill Mr. Universe, but after playing the operative, suggested that to just make Mal look stronger, that he did make the operative angry. That's why he did end up killing Mr. Universe.
Well, yeah, you get to the point where the operative needs to become desperate, and where you could just kind of watch him through the course of the movie kind of become unraveled from his little organizational mind that he had.
Oh yeah, like when they're there on Mr. Universe's planet, and they're all pointed up at the sky, and here comes Mal's ship, and then here come the Reavers, and fire, and he loses his cool completely. Just fire everything, and that was his to me, that was his unravel point, where you knew nothing was going to stand in his way as best as he could. But I'm not surprised he killed Mr. Universe. I mean, anybody who gave him the information he needed didn't need to remember him.
Or that didn't give him the information.
Right. So there's no point. That's why they couldn't find him in he has no name, he has no history, no rank, no nothing. He just exists to he is a process. And that's all he is the personification of a process of getting something done.
Joseph's favorite quote is, "I'm a leaf in the wind."
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I'm the leaf in the wind. That's great.
So I think the thing that sums up the Book and Mal relationship for me is when they're having the conversation, and Mal says like, "I ain't looking for help on high. That's a long wait for a train that don't come." And then Book says, "Is why when I talk about belief do you always think I'm talking about God?" And it's really just Book looking at Mal and realizing that Mal does not believe in himself all the time.
Mm. He's kind of winging it.
Yeah. And that you can see that shift in the movie when he has that big speech about y'all got on this ship for different reasons, and this is the thing I believe I'm doing. And you could honestly see the character change from the whimsical kind of guy to like, I now have a mission. And that would almost what I think what the Sergeant Malcolm Reynolds in the war must have been like.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Oh, well, these are all good. But we do need to wrap it up. We're definitely over time with this episode, which is fine. Because
Holy cow. This show's longer than Serenity ran.
Almost. So, but before we go, Mike, thank you so much for joining with us for this discussion of Serenity.
Anytime. I'll talk about Firefly with you any day of the week.
Yeah. Can we find out a little bit more where people can find you, stalk you, find out what you're doing and what you're involved in?
Yes, they can find me on the internet. That is www.theinternet.com. I'm kidding.
If you need to look that up, you can go to www.letmegooglethatforyou.com.
Exactly. Followed by www.internetisstillljustafad.com.
Right.
You can go to bigdamnfilms.org, which is my company's site. You could go to find me on Twitter, which is wickedjava, wickedjava. Funny story about that is many years ago I was going to open an internet cafe when Twitter first started, and that's kind of where that name came from. And I just haven't gotten rid of it because I know people that's what they know me by, and it's just very weird. I can tell where people know me from by what they call me. So there's that. There is Facebook. If you can find facebook.com/bigdamnfilms. I highly recommend everybody go check out Ninjas vs. Monsters trailer at ninjasverse.com. And I believe it's facebook.com/ninjas vs. monsters. And I think those are the big places to find me right now.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you joining us tonight, as always.
I appreciate you having me.
Yay!
Yay!
Well, and I believe that about does it for tonight. We need to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep tuned. We'll have to do another movie sometime. We'll have to figure out what we want to do next regarding movies and discussions. And Mike, we do have to talk to you about getting some people on to maybe do a review of Ninjas vs. Monster. Maybe getting some of the people on that worked in that film.
Yep. Just give me some dates, and I'll make some email connections happen.
All right. We'll maybe dialogue about it on Facebook tomorrow, guys.
Sounds good.
So, all right. Well, I believe that's about it from our end. Anything else, Em, before we go, other than Mike staring at me?
Mike Wazowski. No, just in a couple weeks I'll be going to Regeneration Who, which is here in the Baltimore area, which will be amazing. I'm going to try and get some interviews with some previous doctors with our friend David Moulton.
Great. So you got hooked up with him?
We're all good to go.
Awesome. Very good. He's excited about it. So, all right.
Mike, are you going?
I think I am.
Yay! Okay. Sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's awesome. So if you want to meet Mike, go to regeneration.com. RegenerationCon. What's the website? Do you know the website for RegenerationCon?
Please hold. I wasn't expecting that. Hold on.
Cue the Monty Python music, intermission music.
So it's regenerationwho.com.
Oh, there you go, regenerationwho.com. Awesome. Well, I believe that's about it. Let's go ahead and wrap this show and get out of here.
All right, till next time, good night and good luck.
We will see ya.
Do your dailies.
Awesome, guys. I think it sounds good.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not saying anything else because Jackass is just going to put it at the end of the show.
Don't worry, I'm still recording. That's going to go on.
You.
So who was Chrissy and how was she found and why was she on the show?
So here's the story. I really didn't give much of a premise for that, did I?
Not at all.
No. So Chrissy works with my wife, and my wife pegged her in her interview that she was a geek, right? Like I just was able to pull it out of her, knowing me, I guess. And so she had come over to do some recording to create like a video, a screencast for the business. And we had talked about, I think back in October, we had talked about maybe having her come on the show, and it just never worked out. And then this came up. I said, well, if you want to hang around, we're talking about Serenity, and she was totally into it. So that's how she kind of got roped into it.
Oh, nice.
But it was kind of cool to have another chick on the show to kind of counteract Miles and I. So
yes, another female geek was actually sounding very good on the show.
Absolutely.
You know what it is they're hunting for new people to replace me because they're just sick of me.
Em's so worried about that, but Em is irreplaceable.
Aw, that's very sweet.
It's really true. There's just nothing like there's when you're on, there's life in the show. So I really it's not a replacement for you.
That's very sweet.
I'm not saying it's going to be on right away again, but it was good to have her.
No, I love having other girls on the show. It's really great, but I'm not going to lie. There's always that moment of, am I getting replaced? Because
no, not motivation in the least.
Okay.
So don't worry about that, Em.
I always worry about that.
But you know what? If you like her to show some time, we'll bring her on again.
It's the actor in me. Actually, I would love to have her because I want to do another sci-fi dinette with just some ladies here in the area to talk about, and some of my writer friends. But it'd be neat to do it if there's if she wants. It'd be neat to do it with her like virtually and have her. We'll do a little camera setup so that she can see us and we can see her.
Yeah, she would love it. She would love it. I'll shoot you her information. I have her Gmail and her handle for Guild Wars, I guess.
Cool.
Well, that's the other thing we could talk about. We could do a show. I don't think we've ever done an episode just in gaming, have we?
No. Well, because
do that.
The nature of the show is it's sci-fi multimedia, so it's all the nerdy stuff that's all multimedia. And I think I drop it and mention it every once in a while here and there, but I think we keep peppering it in. It would be nice to do something that's game specific, and right. As I can check with Frage because he's tighter with the people over at Quantum Mechanics than I am.
Wait, do you want to talk to somebody at Quantum Mechanics?
Yes.
When?
So, well, let me get what I'm saying out. Hold on. To talk about the Serenity game because I would love to get my hands on a beta key to play, but would also love to have them on and discuss the game in general.
All right, I will make a connection for you to see if I can make that happen.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can. I would love to have them on just to talk about the game too.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely see at the very least to get that connection for you.
Well, yeah, that's what I would want is to talk about the game and gaming in general. That would be fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Give me 24 hours on that, and I can get you an answer.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I'll hit you up tomorrow just as a reminder. We can maybe touch base.
Sounds good.
Yay.
All right, guys. Hey, I need to get going. My son is still having trouble getting to sleep. So.
Oh, buddy.
Oh.
So, but thank you for joining us tonight, and we will. Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great chatting with you.
All right, guys. Good night.
Hey,
good night.
Good night. Bye.